I asked an alien woman to dance, only to discover she was a vampire queen. Evan Hale walked through the bustling corridors of the neutral space station, his eyes scanning the unusual crowd. Merchants, diplomats, travelers, and even a few mercenaries moved past in a constant tide of color and sound. For a human, this was overwhelming. Humans were considered fragile, unremarkable, and often ignored by most advanced alien species. That made Evan's position as a trade officer both difficult and, occasionally, amusing. He had learned long ago to move quietly and observe carefully because the galaxy had little patience for mistakes or for humans who overstepped their place. The station was hosting a rare cultural gathering, an event meant to celebrate trade agreements between multiple species. The main hall was enormous, with floating lights that shimmered in the air and music that seemed almost alive, wrapping around everyone in waves. Aliens of every shape and size mingled, their movements strange and alien to human eyes. Some had multiple arms, others glided instead of walked, and a few had skin that changed color with their mood. Humans were outnumbered and outclassed, but Evan liked observing. He liked seeing how civilizations operated when they were not pretending for diplomacy. It was like studying a living painting, alive, unpredictable, and full of secrets. Evan wandered near the edge of the dance floor, mostly unnoticed. He had never been much of a dancer, and in truth, he didn't enjoy large crowds. But there was something in the air tonight that made him feel that maybe, just maybe, he could step outside his comfort zone. That feeling came from a presence that he did not yet fully understand. It was her. She was standing at the edge of the hall, watching. The alien woman was unlike anything Evan had seen before. Her skin was pale, almost luminous under the hall's lights, and her eyes were a deep violet, seeming to hold centuries of experience. She moved with a grace that was almost unnatural, her posture perfect, her expression calm, almost bored. Around her, the crowd seemed to give way instinctively, as if they sensed something about her that they could not name. Evan's curiosity flared. He had a strange feeling that the entire station would notice if she moved just slightly, yet she stood quietly, observing, as though she were weighing the world and everyone in it. Evan felt a sudden, impulsive surge of courage. Something about the way she held herself, regal yet detached, made him believe that she was unlike any other alien he had ever encountered. And then, against every instinct he had learned from experience, he stepped forward. "Would you like to dance?" he asked, his voice steady despite the rapid beat of his heart. The woman's eyes turned to him slowly. She tilted her head ever so slightly, as if considering whether he was a threat or simply foolish. Then, without a word, she nodded. Her acceptance was a single, deliberate movement, but it carried authority and mystery. A murmur went through the surrounding crowd. Some stopped to stare, their curiosity mixed with apprehension. Evan felt every pair of eyes, alien and human alike, pressing on him. Yet the woman offered her hand without hesitation, and he took it, feeling an unexpected warmth from her touch despite her icy demeanor. As they moved onto the dance floor, Evan noticed that the music seemed to shift subtly, responding to her presence. The rhythm grew more hypnotic, almost as if the entire hall were bending to her will. Other dancers stepped back, giving them space, sensing that she commanded it without speaking. He realized that she moved as though she had danced 1,000 times before, every step precise and controlled. He tried to match her, but it was difficult, yet she did not appear to judge him. Instead, there was a flicker of amusement in her eyes, something he could not quite interpret. Evan's thoughts raced. Who was she? Why did she accept his invitation when no one else dared? The logical part of him screamed to be cautious. Most alien species avoided humans entirely or treated them as fragile tools. And yet this woman did not recoil, did not sneer, did not see him as weak. She looked at him, almost with curiosity. Then, without warning, she spoke. Her voice was soft, melodic, yet carried an authority that demanded attention. "You are bold, human. Few dare approach without knowing their place." Evan swallowed hard, feeling a mix of fear and exhilaration. I don't know about bold. I just wanted to dance." Her lips curved slightly in a smile, one that was faint but unsettling. "It is rare for humans to act without fear. Most are cautious, calculating, or desperate." She paused, and Evan felt the weight of her gaze. "You are different. That intrigues me." The words were simple, but the effect was profound. Evan realized that she was assessing him in a way no one had ever done before. There was no pretense, no hidden threat, only a piercing curiosity that made him feel simultaneously small and significant. As they continued to move across the floor, Evan noticed whispers among the surrounding aliens. He could not hear most of the words, but the tone was unmistakable: fear, respect, and something akin to awe. One alien noble standing near the edge of the hall whispered urgently to another. "Human, do you know who you are touching?" Evan's pulse quickened. He had no idea. Could she be someone of great power, or something far more dangerous? Before he could ask, she leaned closer and whispered, almost as if sharing a secret. "Few understand that strength comes in many forms. Yours is unusual." Evan felt a chill run down his spine, though her words were not threatening. Instead, they carried a weight, a recognition that humans were more than fragile creatures to be dismissed. Something about her presence made him realize that he was not just a pawn in this gathering. In this moment, humans, through him, mattered. The music shifted again, slower now, more intimate. The other dancers had mostly cleared the floor, leaving them in the center. Evan struggled to keep pace with her elegant movements, but she did not seem impatient. Instead, she adjusted slightly, guiding him in subtle ways that made the dance flow naturally. He noticed the precision of her movements, the way she seemed perfectly attuned to the rhythm, as if the music itself answered to her will. As they moved together, Evan felt a connection forming, not romantic, not exactly, but something deeper. A sense of recognition, as if the universe had decided this meeting was important. He realized that every instinct he had learned as a human, caution, strategy, survival, had led him here to this moment. And yet the unknown still loomed. Who was this alien woman, and why had she accepted his invitation? The dance ended too soon, and she led him back toward the edge of the floor. The murmurs around them had grown louder, whispers of speculation and concern. The station's usual calm had shifted into tension, and Evan felt eyes pressing on him from all directions. Finally, she turned to him fully, her violet eyes meeting his. "You are bold human," she repeated, her tone softer this time. "Bold and interesting. Few would survive a dance in my presence unscathed, yet here you are, you breathe, you live. That is remarkable." Evan laughed nervously, unsure whether to feel honored or terrified. "I guess I'm lucky." Her smile widened just slightly, an expression that was both unsettling and intriguing. "Perhaps, or perhaps it is something more. Perhaps you are exactly the kind of human I hope to find." Before he could respond, a hush fell over the hall. Evan turned slightly and saw a cluster of alien dignitaries, their faces pale, their expressions tense. One of them, an elder with golden-scaled skin and multiple eyes, whispered urgently to another. "That is not merely an alien woman. She is Nyxara, the vampire queen." Evan froze. He had heard rumors of vampire-like species, creatures that had survived centuries, feared and respected by entire empires. But he had never imagined meeting one, especially here in a hall full of diplomats far from her own territory. Nyxara noticed his hesitation and tilted her head. "Do you understand what I am?" she asked, her voice gentle but carrying weight. Evan shook his head, his mind racing. "Not really, I mean I've heard stories, but—" "You have courage," she interrupted, "and ignorance, a dangerous combination, yet also rare." She regarded him silently for a moment. "Most would have fled, knelt, or pleaded. You simply asked to dance. That is human." "That is unexpected." Evan felt a strange sense of pride. He had not thought about bravery or heroism. He had simply acted. And yet, in doing so, he had captured the attention of a being whose presence alone could command fleets and instill fear in nations. The station quieted further as Nyxara turned slightly, sweeping her gaze over the hall. Her presence was magnetic. Aliens and humans alike instinctively stepped back, unsure whether to approach or flee. For the first time, Evan realized that he was not merely a guest here. He was a participant in something much larger than himself. She extended a hand, not an invitation, but in recognition. "Come with me," she said simply. "There are things you will need to see. Things that few humans are ever allowed to witness." Evan hesitated for barely a moment, then nodded. He could feel the eyes of the entire station on him, but he did not care. He had no idea what lay ahead, but he felt an unfamiliar sense of destiny. Whatever this woman, this vampire queen, wanted from him, he knew one thing clearly. Humanity was about to be noticed in a way it rarely had been before. And with that, he followed her, stepping into a path that would change not only his life, but the perception of humans across the galaxy. Evan followed Nyxara through the winding corridors of the neutral station, feeling every step heavier with anticipation. He had no idea where she was leading him, and a small, rational part of his mind screamed caution. After all, he had just discovered that the elegant alien woman he had danced with was not just powerful. She was a vampire queen, a ruler whose name alone carried centuries of fear and respect across multiple star systems. Every story he had ever heard about her species painted them as predators, cunning, relentless, and nearly invincible. Yet here she was, walking calmly beside him, offering neither threat nor attack. As they reached a private shuttle bay, Evan's heart quickened. Sleek ships of alien design hovered silently in the docking area, their hulls glinting in the artificial light. The bay was empty of most personnel, save for a few attendants who bowed automatically as Nyxara passed, their fear barely hidden. Evan realized that her authority here was absolute. She did not speak loudly, yet the very air seemed to acknowledge her presence. She led him to a ship that was smaller than the massive war vessels he had seen in the past, but elegant in design. The hull shimmered with a dark metallic finish that reflected the lights of the station in odd, shifting patterns. Nyxara gestured for him to enter first. Evan hesitated for a moment, but then stepped inside, feeling the subtle hum of the ship's power. "Where are we going?" he asked cautiously. "To my fleet," she replied simply. Her voice was calm, controlled, yet every word carried weight. "There are things you must see humans rarely witness. There are truths about my people and your species that you will understand better once you have experienced them." Evan swallowed hard. The thought of stepping into a vampire fleet was terrifying. Stories of their strength, their speed, and their intelligence filled his mind. And yet there was a strange calmness to Nyxara. She had invited him, not threatened him. That alone told him something profound. She did not see him as prey. The shuttle lifted smoothly from the station, moving into the void of space. Evan gazed out at the stars, feeling both small and significant. He had visited many systems before, but never with the weight of destiny pressing on his shoulders. Beside him, Nyxara remained silent, her violet eyes reflecting the distant lights of the galaxy. Hours passed as they traveled. Evan learned nothing from her directly, only from observation. He saw the way she interacted with the ship systems, her calm command of the attendants, and the subtle signals that kept the vessel in perfect balance. It was clear that she had trained not only herself, but also those around her to operate efficiently and without fear of error. He felt a pang of admiration. Leadership such as hers could not be learned overnight. It required centuries of discipline. When they arrived at the fleet, Evan's breath caught in his throat. The ships were vast, each larger than any human vessel he had ever seen. They moved with precision, formation, and a silent grace that made even seasoned human commanders feel inadequate. Every ship seemed to reflect Nyxara's presence, sleek, deadly, and perfect in design. And then he saw the crews. Vampires moved among the ships with a speed and agility that was almost supernatural. Their eyes glimmered with intelligence and calculation, yet they obeyed Nyxara without hesitation. She moved among them with a quiet authority, and Evan noticed that even those in the highest ranks gave her a respectful distance. He felt a mix of awe and fear. This was not a fleet of soldiers. It was an extension of a queen who had survived centuries, whose name alone could start wars or end them. "You may feel fear," Nyxara said quietly, as if reading his thoughts. "It is natural, but observe carefully. Not all strength comes from power. Some comes from discipline, unity, and trust. Even my people who survive on fear and cunning must learn to work together. And humans, you possess something rare, something I have not seen in others of your species for centuries." Evan turned to her, curiosity overcoming his nerves. "What is it?" "A willingness to act without calculation," she replied. "To take risks without fully knowing the outcome. Humans, you have courage, ingenuity, and unpredictability. Traits that can change the tide of events faster than any weapon." Evan felt a strange pride. No one had ever spoken to him this way. He had always been told humans were weak, fragile, easy to manipulate. And yet here was a being who feared nothing, acknowledging something valuable in him simply because he had acted honestly. Their conversation was interrupted by an alert on the ship's console. Nyxara's eyes flicked toward it, sharp and commanding. "Pirates," she said simply. "They have detected our fleet. They believe they can strike while we travel in neutral space. This is their mistake." Before Evan could ask what would happen, the ship jolted violently. Outside the viewport, he could see small attack vessels moving at incredible speed toward Nyxara's fleet. These were not ordinary pirates. They were fast, armed with weapons designed to pierce armor. Humans rarely had fleets capable of matching such speed and precision. Nyxara stood calmly, her hand moving over the control console with effortless grace. Her voice, calm yet commanding, cut through the chaos. Prepare defense protocols. Engage in Formation 7. Target the lead vessel. Do not allow them to breach our perimeter. Evan's heart pounded as the fleet responded immediately. Vampire crews moved with uncanny speed, coordinating attacks and defenses that no human fleet could match. Lasers, shields, and maneuvering thrusters reacted as if they anticipated every move of the attacking vessels. Yet he noticed something else. The vampires fought not out of fear, not out of hatred, but out of discipline. They moved with precision, trust in their queen, and a sense of purpose. During the chaos, one of the attacking pirate vessels broke through the outer perimeter and aimed directly at Nyxara's ship. Without thinking, Evan ran toward a control console, pressing buttons he barely understood. He tried to help guide the defenses, following instinct more than knowledge. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the ship. Evan was thrown to the floor, stunned. He looked up to see a pirate boarding vessel closing in on the ship itself. And then, in the blink of an eye, Nyxara was there, standing between him and the intruders. Her movements were almost too fast to follow. In moments, she had neutralized the pirates, disabling them without killing, disarming them with precision, and restoring order to the ship. Evan's jaw dropped. No human could have done that. Her presence alone was enough to command obedience, instill fear, and assert dominance. Yet she did not harm anyone unnecessarily. Evan, still on the floor, looked up at her in awe. How did you? She looked down at him, her expression unreadable. Control is not merely about strength, she said softly. It is about knowing yourself, knowing your people, and knowing your enemy. And sometimes it is about trusting those who seem insignificant. You human helped even in ignorance. That is rare. Evan felt a warmth he had not expected. He had acted instinctively, simply trying to survive and help, and the vampire queen had acknowledged it. He realized that humans, despite their limitations, could still stand alongside the galaxy's most feared species if they had courage and determination. The battle ended within minutes. The pirates retreated, their confidence shattered by the fleet's precision and the queen's authority. Nyxara turned to Evan, her violet eyes reflecting both curiosity and respect. You survived your first battle with us, she said. Few humans would have. Many would have panicked, fled, or frozen, yet you acted. That is why I watch you. That is why I consider you interesting. Evan straightened, pride and relief mixing in his chest. He had faced pirates, witnessed the strength of a vampire fleet, and survived alongside them. And in doing so, he had gained something unexpected, the recognition of a being whose species had ruled through fear for centuries. As the fleet moved on, Evan realized the magnitude of what had happened. He was not just a human in an alien world anymore. He was someone who had proven, in a small but meaningful way, that humans could act with courage, ingenuity, and reliability even in the face of overwhelming power. And Nyxara, she was watching him, not with hunger or disdain, but with curiosity and perhaps even admiration. Why are you doing this? Evan asked finally, breaking the silence. Why not, consider me prey or just leave me behind? Nyxara's eyes softened ever so slightly, though her voice remained firm. Most humans are not worth my attention, she said. They are cautious, weak, predictable. You are neither. That is why I keep you close. There is more to your species than most realize. Perhaps you will help me understand it better. Evan felt a shiver of realization. His life, once ordinary, had become extraordinary. Humans, often underestimated, could make a difference, even in a galaxy that feared and dismissed them. And somehow, Nyxara had chosen him to witness and participate in her world. As the ships moved through the void, Evan took a deep breath. The stars stretched endlessly before him, each one a reminder of how vast and dangerous the galaxy was. And yet, with the Queen by his side, he felt an unfamiliar sense of possibility. Perhaps humanity was not as small as the legends suggested. Perhaps humans could matter, could survive, and even thrive in ways others could not imagine. And with that thought, Evan realized that his journey was only beginning. He had danced with a vampire queen, survived a battle that would have destroyed most humans, and earned the notice of a being who had ruled with fear for centuries. What lay ahead was unknown, but he was ready. For the first time in his life, he truly understood that humans had the power to surprise even the galaxy's most ancient and feared creatures. The aftermath of the pirate attack left Evan shaken, but oddly exhilarated. He had survived his first encounter with a vampire fleet, and more importantly, had seen firsthand the precision, discipline, and raw power of Nyxara's forces. Yet even as he marveled, he knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was full of dangers, many of them far larger and more organized than a band of pirates seeking easy loot. Nyxara guided him to a command chamber aboard her flagship, a room filled with holographic maps of star systems, fleets, and strategic positions. The walls pulsed with faint energy, reflecting off her pale skin and violet eyes. Her presence dominated the room, yet she made space for him to stand comfortably, as if acknowledging his existence without diminishing her authority. "You have performed well, human," she said softly, her voice carrying the calm authority that had quelled pirates in moments. "Few of your kind would have dared to act, even fewer would have done so effectively." Evan nodded, still catching his breath. "I didn't think, I just did what seemed right." "Exactly," she said, a hint of admiration in her tone. "That is your strength. You act from instinct, from courage, from a refusal to bow immediately to fear. That is rare." Evan looked at her, trying to understand. "But aren't you supposed to fear humans? Your kind usually dominates, right? You're centuries old. You've survived countless wars. Why notice me at all?" Nyxara's gaze softened, though her posture remained regal. "Most humans are predictable. They act out of fear or caution, rarely out of boldness. But you have sparked something. Curiosity, respect. I want to understand your species better, and perhaps in time you will teach me something I have long forgotten." Evan felt a mix of pride and unease. He had always believed humans were underestimated across the galaxy, but now he realized the depth of that underestimation. Here he was, a single human, acknowledged by one of the most feared beings alive. Before he could process further, the ship's alarm blared. Red lights pulsed as a fleet-wide alert sounded. Nyxara's expression hardened immediately. "Scan the perimeter," she commanded. Her voice was sharp now, cutting through the tension. "This is no ordinary encounter. They are approaching fast, calculated, organized. Prepare for interception." Evan leaned over a console, trying to comprehend the information displayed. A massive fleet was advancing, not pirates this time, but a coalition of mercenary and military vessels known across several systems for their ruthlessness. They had identified the vampire fleet and assumed humans would be weak, easy prey. They did not anticipate the precision, discipline, and ingenuity of a combined vampire-human defense. Nyxara moved through the room with calm authority, her eyes scanning every detail. She gave commands with a quiet efficiency that left no room for error, yet she paused momentarily to glance at Evan. "Observe carefully, human," she said. "Notice how we coordinate. Notice how trust and discipline overcome brute strength. You may learn more in the next moments than in years of ordinary life." Evan watched in awe as the fleet moved into formation. Each ship adjusted position with meticulous precision. Vampire warriors coordinated attacks seamlessly, anticipating the enemy's movements. But what impressed him most was not the power or speed. It was the way Nyxara's leadership inspired loyalty and confidence. Fear alone could never achieve this. As the first wave of enemy vessels approached, Evan saw the opening they sought. They aimed directly at a smaller, lightly armored ship, expecting an easy strike. Without thinking, he moved to the controls of a nearby defense module, pressing buttons at random, hoping to help. To his shock, the module responded. Lasers fired with pinpoint accuracy, disabling enemy craft before they could reach their target. He glanced at Nyxara, who was watching him intently. Her expression held a flicker of something he could not name, approval, perhaps, or curiosity. The battle intensified. Vessels clashed in brilliant bursts of light. Shields flared, weapons fired, and the hum of engines filled the void. Evan's heart pounded in his chest, but he remained focused, following instinct and the brief instructions Nyxara had given. Then one of the enemy capital ships broke through the outer formation, heading directly for Nyxara's flagship. Panic rose in the command room as alarms blared, but Nyxara remained calm. She moved with a speed and precision that left Evan breathless. In moments, she had taken control of multiple defense systems, coordinating a counterattack that disabled the ship without unnecessary destruction. Evan could hardly believe what he saw. The Queen, centuries old and feared across galaxies, moved with the skill and decisiveness of a human general trained in instinctive tactics, yet her methods were precise, efficient, and merciful. Once the immediate threat was neutralized, Nyxara turned her attention to Evan. "You see, human," she said, her voice low and deliberate, "strength is not measured by fear alone. It is measured by courage, ingenuity, and the ability to act when others hesitate. You demonstrated all three. Few of your kind can match this." Evan swallowed hard. I was just trying to help. I didn't think about courage or strength. I just did what felt right." Nyxara regarded him for a long moment, her eyes piercing. "Exactly. That is why humans are interesting. You do not always act for survival, power, or dominance. Sometimes you act simply because it is the right thing. That is a rare quality in any species. Perhaps that is why your kind endures despite seeming fragile." The remainder of the battle passed with Evan observing more than acting. The fleet's coordination and discipline left a deep impression on him. He realized that Nyxara's strength did not come from her abilities alone, but from the unity and loyalty she inspired. Fear could win battles temporarily, but respect and trust ensured survival and dominance across centuries. After the enemy fleet retreated, the flagship settled into a quiet orbit around a nearby star. The tension in the command room eased, but Evan could still feel the weight of what had occurred. They had survived against overwhelming odds, and humans had played a part, not because of their raw power, but because of courage, instinct, and adaptability. Nyxara walked to the viewing window, her eyes scanning the stars. "You witnessed something most humans never will," she said. "You saw what it means to survive among the strongest. And yet your species has something my kind often lacks: bravery without calculation, action without fear of consequence." Evan glanced at her, still processing everything. "You respect humans?" he asked cautiously. She turned her gaze to him, her expression unreadable but intense. "I respect those who earn it," she said. "Most humans do not. Many flee, many falter. You acted. That earns my attention." Evan felt a strange sense of pride. He had always known humans were underestimated, but to hear it acknowledged by the galaxy's most feared predator was beyond anything he could have imagined. The moment of reflection was interrupted by a communication alert. The message came from one of Nyxara's envoys, urgent and clipped. "Queen Nyxara, there is a matter requiring your attention. A nearby colony has been attacked. They request your intervention. Humans are involved." Nyxara's expression hardened. "Prepare the fleet." "We will move immediately." She looked at Evan, her violet eyes studying him. "This is your chance to see humanity in action beyond observation. You will witness how your species faces danger not with fear, but with resilience. Watch carefully, human. There is much to learn." Evan nodded, feeling a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. He had survived the fleet battle, but a colony attack was entirely different. Civilian lives were at stake. The stakes were higher and the consequences of failure more severe. Yet he also felt excitement. Humanity had a chance to prove itself in a way no one in the galaxy expected. The fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, moving toward the colony. As they approached, the damage became clear. Ships hung in orbit, fires burned on planetary surfaces, and evacuation shuttles struggled to escape. Yet among the chaos, human resistance was evident. Pilots fought with skill and courage, civilians organized evacuation efforts, and military units coordinated with a determination that impressed even Nyxara. Evan watched as humans, often underestimated, stood their ground. They were not as fast or strong as vampires, nor as experienced as centuries-old commanders, but their bravery, ingenuity, and refusal to give in were undeniable. Every move, every decision reflected adaptability and resilience, the traits Nyxara had praised. During the battle, a group of hostile ships targeted a small human vessel, intending to destroy it and crush morale. Without hesitation, Evan ran to the tactical console. He coordinated defensive measures, guided pilots, and used the fleet systems to protect the humans. His heart pounded, but he acted instinctively, combining observation with intuition. Nyxara observed him closely. "You understand coordination," she said quietly. "Not from training, but from instinct. That is rare among humans and rarer still in someone so young." Your species is capable of more than most believe. By the time the colony was secured, many lives had been saved. The attacking ships retreated, defeated by the combined effort of humans and vampires working in unison. Evan felt exhaustion wash over him, but it was mingled with exhilaration. He had witnessed, firsthand, how humans could hold their own, even alongside the galaxy's most feared species. Nyxara approached him, placing a hand briefly on his shoulder. "You see now, human," she said, her voice calm but firm, "why I am fascinated by your species. Courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to act. These are qualities that make humans more formidable than most give credit. Your presence here matters, you matter." Evan felt a sense of awe he could hardly describe. He had started this journey as a trade officer, largely unnoticed and underestimated. Now he had danced with a vampire queen, survived a pirate attack, witnessed the full might of a vampire fleet, and seen the resilience of humanity in action. He realized that humans were not fragile or insignificant. They were unpredictable, courageous, and capable of rising to challenges that others would flee from. As the fleet left the system, Evan looked out at the stars. He understood, perhaps for the first time, that humanity's greatest strength was not technology or raw power, but spirit. The willingness to act, to stand, and to survive against overwhelming odds. And Nyxara, immortal, powerful, and feared across the galaxy, had recognized it. For Evan, the galaxy had changed. He had seen the potential of humans to inspire respect, awe, and even fear, not through domination, but through courage, ingenuity, and determination. He understood that this was only the beginning of a journey that would test everything he believed about himself and his species. And somewhere deep in the ship, he felt the quiet, steady presence of Nyxara, watching, observing, and perhaps beginning to understand that humans could be more than prey. They could be allies, equals, and even catalysts for change in a galaxy ruled by fear. The fleet moved in. Silence through the void of space, but the quiet was uneasy. Evan could feel the tension radiating from the crew, even in the absence of immediate threats. The events at the colony had made a deep impression across the galaxy. News traveled quickly in ways he could never have imagined, and some species saw the cooperation between humans and vampires as a dangerous shift in power. Already, whispers of war and retaliation had begun to surface among the councils and empires that governed the stars. Nyxara stood at the helm of her flagship, her posture unyielding and regal. Her eyes scanned the holographic displays, absorbing information with meticulous focus. She was silent for a long time, a queen lost in thought, considering the political ramifications of their recent actions. Evan could sense that this was more than a military matter. It was a test of loyalty, diplomacy, and perception. Finally, she turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "The galaxy does not appreciate change easily," she said softly. "Your species, human, has attracted attention, not all of it favorable. Many believe humans are weak, insignificant, and unworthy. Yet you have proven otherwise." Evan felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. "So, what happens now?" he asked. "Do we prepare for retaliation?" Nyxara nodded. "Perhaps. There are those who fear the influence humans may have on my empire. Some councils demand action against you and your kind. They believe that your presence threatens the balance of power. War is possible." Evan's stomach tightened. He had survived pirates, witnessed fleet battles, and observed humanity's courage in action. But now the stakes had grown to a scale he could hardly comprehend. Entire species could mobilize against him and his allies, and yet he did not feel helpless. The humans he had witnessed had shown resilience, creativity, and bravery beyond expectation. Perhaps they could influence events in ways even the galaxy's oldest empires could not foresee. Nyxara gestured for him to follow her to a private chamber. It was a quiet space, illuminated by soft ambient lights, with holographic maps floating in midair. She gestured toward a display showing multiple star systems, each marked with potential threats and strategic positions. "You will need to understand the politics of this galaxy," she said. "Power is not only measured in strength, but in perception, influence, and alliances. Your species, human, has a unique perspective. You do not follow tradition blindly, yet you understand cooperation. That makes you dangerous and valuable." Evan leaned closer to the display, absorbing the information. He had never considered politics on this scale. Human diplomacy had always seemed small, contained to nations or alliances. Here, entire species negotiated, threatened, and strategized all at once. It was overwhelming, but he felt a strange excitement. He could see a role for humans not as pawns, but as active participants shaping the outcome of events. Nyxara's voice cut through his thoughts. We are approaching a critical point. The Council will demand your surrender. They will not understand the value humans bring to this alliance. And yet, if we act wisely, your species can demonstrate that courage and cooperation can overcome fear and prejudice. The galaxy may learn a lesson it has long ignored. Humans are capable of more than expected. Evan swallowed hard. So, we show them what humans can do? Yes, Nyxara said firmly. But this will require more than courage. It will require sacrifice, strategy, and trust. You will witness and participate in decisions that affect millions. Are you prepared? Evan nodded, his resolve hardening. He had survived pirates, learned from Nyxara, and seen the courage of humans firsthand. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them, not because he had to, but because he could. The fleet entered the neutral system near the Council's headquarters. Sensors detected multiple warships approaching rapidly. The Council had not yet acted, but their presence was undeniable. Evan could feel the weight of scrutiny from every ship, every commander, every observer monitoring their movements. Nyxara moved with calm authority, issuing orders with quiet precision. Shields were raised, defensive systems prepared, and communication channels monitored. Yet she glanced at Evan, her expression softer, almost curious. "Observe carefully," she said. "Notice how humans can influence perception and action. Your species may be underestimated, but it has the potential to shift the balance of power." Evan watched as her ships maneuvered with grace, avoiding conflict while maintaining readiness. It was a delicate balance. Show strength without provoking aggression, maintain authority without revealing weakness. He realized that humans often faced similar challenges on smaller scales, negotiating, cooperating, and navigating risks. The lessons were applicable, even across the galaxy. As the Council's representatives arrived, tension filled the void. Multiple alien species emerged from their vessels, each radiating authority and suspicion. Their eyes were on Nyxara and her fleet, and more importantly, on the human who had drawn her attention. Evan felt their scrutiny as a weight pressing down on him. A voice echoed through the communication channels, formal and commanding. "Queen Nyxara, you have violated the neutrality of this station. You harbor a human who is not authorized to interact with our councils. Release him immediately or face consequences." Nyxara's response was calm, deliberate. "This human is under my protection. He has acted with courage and integrity. I will not release him for political convenience. Those who underestimate him will learn the value of courage and loyalty." Evan felt a ripple of fear and pride. Fear for the potential consequences, pride in Nyxara's acknowledgement of him. He had survived battles, helped defend a colony, and now he was standing alongside one of the most feared beings in the galaxy. Humans had been underestimated, yet here he was, proving their worth in ways no one expected. The Council representatives exchanged glances, uncertainty in their movements. Many had never encountered humans capable of such steadfastness, let alone a human recognized by a vampire queen. For the first time, Evan realized that perception was as important as strength. Humans could influence the galaxy not through domination but through courage, strategy, and integrity. Nyxara turned toward Evan. "You may speak if you wish. Show them what humans can contribute." Evan's pulse quickened. He had never addressed beings of such authority, yet he understood the significance. Humans often acted out of conviction, honesty, and determination. He would do the same here. Stepping forward, he spoke clearly and calmly. "I am Evan Hale, a human. I do not have centuries of experience, nor the power of your fleets, but I have learned courage, cooperation, and ingenuity. I have acted alongside humans and vampires alike, and we have faced challenges that many believed impossible. Humanity can contribute not through domination, but through determination, creativity, and the willingness to act when others hesitate." A silence fell over the communication channels. Even Nyxara's attendants paused, sensing the impact of his words. The council representatives were clearly surprised, a human speaking with such confidence and clarity, without fear, without hesitation. Nyxara's eyes glimmered with approval. "See, human," she said softly, Your species can inspire respect even among the most powerful. Courage and integrity are not bound by species. They are universal. The council's response was cautious, measured. We acknowledge your words, human. We will consider your actions and the value you have demonstrated. However, the situation remains delicate. The galaxy is unstable and alliances are fragile. Evan nodded, understanding the subtle threat. He had planted the seed of recognition, but the work was not done. Humans would need to continue proving themselves, not through violence or dominance, but through courage, ingenuity, and steadfastness. The council representatives withdrew, leaving the fleet in a tense calm. Nyxara placed a hand on Evan's shoulder, her touch firm and reassuring. "You have done well," she said. "You have shown them that humans are more than they expect. That is not a small achievement." Evan felt exhaustion and exhilaration intertwine. He had danced with a vampire queen, survived pirates, defended a colony, and now influenced the galaxy's perception of humanity. He realized that humans were not fragile. They were adaptable, courageous, and capable of inspiring respect even in the face of overwhelming power. Nyxara turned her gaze outward, scanning the stars beyond the fleet. "The galaxy will test us further," she said. "There will be those who doubt, who fear, who seek to undermine. But you, human, have demonstrated that courage and action can alter perception. That is a rare gift. And perhaps it is the beginning of something new." Evan understood the weight of her words. He had started this journey as an ordinary human, largely unnoticed and underestimated. Now he was a symbol of humanity's potential, a reminder that courage, integrity, and the willingness to act could change the course of events, even in a galaxy ruled by power, fear, and prejudice. As the fleet moved onward, Evan looked out at the stars, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. Humanity had been underestimated for centuries, dismissed as weak and fragile. Yet here he was, standing alongside one of the most feared beings in existence, proving that humans could inspire respect, influence decisions, and even alter the balance of power. He realized that the future was uncertain, full of challenges, but also full of possibility. Humans had the power to surprise, to endure, and to rise above expectations. And with Nyxara watching, guiding, and learning alongside him, Evan understood that this was only the beginning of a journey that would test everything he believed, and everything the galaxy believed, about humanity. For the first time, he felt not fear, but purpose. The galaxy would see that humans could stand alongside the strongest, not through dominance, but through courage, integrity, and the refusal to bow to fear. And somewhere deep within the flagship, Evan sensed Nyxara's quiet approval, a recognition that humans, despite their fragility, were capable of greatness, and that together they might reshape the galaxy in ways no one had ever imagined. The fleet moved through the void, carrying both humans and vampires alike, each ship humming with energy and readiness. Evan felt a strange sense of calm, though his mind was alert. He knew that the Council's deliberations were not yet complete, that threats could arise from anywhere in the galaxy. But he also understood that humanity had earned a place at this table, not through fear, not through dominance, but through courage, ingenuity, and determination. Nyxara stood beside him on the observation deck, her eyes scanning the stars. The violet glow of distant suns reflected in her irises, and her expression was as unreadable as always. Yet there was something new in her demeanor, a hint of respect, even warmth, reserved for those rare individuals who defied expectation. "You have done well, human," she said softly. "Not just in battle or strategy, but in understanding. You see that the galaxy is not ruled solely by strength, but by courage, by integrity, and by action. That is why you are here, why your presence matters." Evan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had grown accustomed to the fearsome reputation of her kind, to the centuries of power that shaped every decision. And yet he realized that humans had their own strength, a strength that was unpredictable, instinctive, and resilient. That unpredictability could change the course of events, could challenge assumptions, and could inspire respect. The communication channels buzzed suddenly, and the Council's voice filled the room. "Queen Nyxara, your actions have been noted. The humans you harbor, they have acted with courage and integrity. It is unexpected. We will not act against your fleet at this time, but the galaxy watches closely." Nyxara's gaze shifted to Evan, and for the first time he saw something softer in her eyes. "You see, human," she said, Even the most powerful empires are forced to recognize value when it is undeniable. Your species has done this. You have changed perception, even if only slightly. That is a victory. Evan felt a thrill of pride. He had survived battles, defended colonies, and faced scrutiny from the galaxy's most powerful. And now, humans had earned recognition. It was not complete, not total, but it was a beginning. Humanity was no longer invisible. Humanity was no longer underestimated. The fleet entered a nearby system where a small human colony awaited aid. Reports indicated that the colony had been under threat from raiders and supplies were low. Evan could feel the urgency, the tension in the air. Even with the Council's reluctant acknowledgement, the lives of ordinary humans depended on the fleet's response. Nyxara moved swiftly, issuing orders with precision. Shields were raised, transports coordinated, and defensive formations established. Yet she glanced at Evan, her eyes calculating. This is your chance to witness how humans act when they are needed most. Observe and perhaps participate. Your species is capable of more than many believe. Evan nodded, understanding the weight of responsibility. He moved to the tactical console, working alongside the crew. He guided transports, calculated optimal routes for supplies, and coordinated with human pilots defending the colony. Every decision required focus. Every action mattered. As they approached the colony, they saw the damage firsthand. Buildings were partially destroyed, fields burned, and small fires dotted the landscape. Yet the human colonists were not idle. They organized evacuation efforts, defended their settlements, and worked tirelessly to preserve life. Evan felt a deep admiration. Humanity's resilience was remarkable. They had faced near destruction and yet refused to yield. Suddenly, a group of raiders approached the colony in small, fast vessels. They were armed and aggressive, intending to seize supplies and destroy any resistance. The fleet moved to intercept, but the raiders were cunning, attempting to strike quickly and retreat before the larger ships could respond. Evan acted instinctively. He coordinated human pilots with the fleet's defenses, using timing and strategy to anticipate the raiders' movements. He issued commands with clarity, guiding vessels to protect the colony while minimizing damage. Each decision was crucial. Each moment carried consequences. Nyxara observed quietly, her violet eyes focused on him. "You understand coordination instinctively," she said. "Not from training, but from observation and intuition. That is rare among humans and rare in anyone. You see patterns others miss, act where others hesitate. That is why I value your presence." The battle was intense but brief. The raiders, expecting chaos, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. The combination of human determination and vampire precision proved overwhelming. Vessels were disabled or forced to retreat, and the colony was secured. Evan exhaled deeply, the adrenaline slowly fading. He had survived, acted decisively, and contributed to saving lives, yet he realized that this was more than a personal victory. It was a demonstration of humanity's capability, courage, and adaptability. The colony had survived because humans had refused to yield, because they had acted with intelligence and bravery. Nyxara approached him, her expression unreadable but firm. "You have seen, human," she said, "how your species can endure, inspire, and act decisively even in the face of overwhelming odds. You have done well, but there is more ahead. The galaxy is not static. Challenges will continue. And humans, your species may yet play a decisive role." Evan nodded, understanding the truth in her words. Humans were underestimated across the galaxy, often dismissed as weak or insignificant. Yet in moments of crisis, they demonstrated courage, ingenuity, and resilience that rivaled the galaxy's most feared species. He realized that humanity's greatest strength was not physical, not technological, but the willingness to act with integrity and determination. As the fleet departed from the colony, Evan looked out at the stars, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. He had started this journey as an ordinary human, largely unnoticed and underestimated. Now he was part of something larger, a demonstration that humans could influence events on a galactic scale, inspire respect, and even alter perceptions of strength and capability. Nyxara stood beside him, her eyes reflecting the light of distant stars. "The galaxy will continue to test you, human," she said softly. "But you have proven that courage, integrity, and action are forces to be reckoned with. Humanity is not weak. It is adaptable, resilient, and capable of shaping the future. Remember that. Evan felt a swell of determination. He had learned that fear was not the only path to survival, that strength was not the only measure of worth, and that humans, despite their perceived fragility, could stand alongside the galaxy's most powerful beings. For the first time, he felt not fear, but confidence. The galaxy would continue to challenge them, but humanity had proven that it could rise to meet those challenges. And with Nyxara's guidance, alongside the courage of his fellow humans, Evan understood that they could face whatever came next. The fleet moved on, a symbol of unity and potential. Humans and vampires worked together, their combined strengths amplifying each other. Evan realized that this was not just a battle for survival, but a demonstration of possibility, a testament to the courage, ingenuity, and resilience of a species long underestimated. In the quiet moments, as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Evan reflected on everything he had experienced. He had danced with a vampire queen, survived battles that would have destroyed most humans, and earned the recognition of a being who had ruled for centuries. He had witnessed humanity at its finest, and he had contributed to its success. And in that moment, he understood a fundamental truth. Humans were not defined by weakness, fear, or limitations. They were defined by courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to act, even when the odds seemed impossible. That was the essence of humanity, and it was a force that could not be ignored. Nyxara watched him quietly, her expression thoughtful. "You have done well, human," she said finally. "Not just in action, but in understanding. You see the galaxy for what it can be, not only for what it is. That is rare. And perhaps it is the beginning of a new era, one in which humans are recognized for their true potential." Evan felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The journey had been perilous, filled with uncertainty, danger, and moments that would have broken lesser beings. Yet he had endured, acted decisively, and proven that humanity could inspire respect and influence the course of events. As the fleet continued its journey, Evan looked out at the endless expanse of stars, feeling a connection not only to the humans he had witnessed, but to the galaxy itself. He understood that this was only the beginning. Humanity had a place in the stars, not as prey, not as insignificant observers, but as courageous, adaptable, and determined participants capable of shaping the future. And somewhere deep within the flagship, Nyxara's eyes watched him with quiet approval, a recognition that humans, despite their perceived fragility, were capable of greatness. She had seen courage, ingenuity, and integrity in action, and she understood that humans could stand alongside even the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Evan felt a sense of purpose unlike any he had known before. He was no longer just a human lost in the vastness of space. He was a symbol of humanity's potential, a reminder that courage, determination, and integrity could alter perceptions and inspire respect. And he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, humans would meet them, not with fear, but with action, ingenuity, and resilience. The stars stretched endlessly before them, each one a possibility, a challenge, and a promise. And Evan understood that humanity's journey had only begun. He had danced with a vampire queen, faced the dangers of the galaxy, and emerged with courage and purpose. And in doing so, he had shown that humans were not weak, not insignificant, and not easily forgotten. They were capable of greatness, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. Evan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. The future was vast, uncertain, and filled with challenges, but it was also filled with hope. Humanity had proven its worth, and now it was time to continue proving it, step by step, star by star, with courage, ingenuity, and unwavering determination. And as the fleet moved onward, Evan knew one thing for certain: humans would never be underestimated again.